So today is the first day of my podcast. My podcast is called Apostate's Corner because chest level? Okay, so I was raised a Jehovah's Witness, for anybody who doesn't know. And when I was 21 years old, I moved from California to Massachusetts to be with my partner. I didn't intend to move here. I, like everyone around me, and me and my partner were like joking that I wasn't gonna leave once I got here, but that wasn't the plan. I was only supposed to be here for a week. But you know, it's what happens when you get away from everything. When you get away from everything that is currently bad in your life, and you are with the one of the only good things, you don't want to go back. So I didn't. I also partially didn't go back because this was March 2020. So COVID hit. I got COVID February 2020. We didn't know what it was. The doctor was like, well, you tested negative for strep, but it sounds like strep, but you also are showing like respiratory distress. So she thought it could be viral. And I felt like I was dead. I felt like I was dying. Like literally, I remember my mom and I went to the grocery store after to get some like soup and like Gatorade and stuff. And I was just like walking around and I was like, Mom, I don't know how much longer I can do this. I was like, I feel literally like I'm dead walking. And she was like, okay, so we just like hurried up and checked out. And then I got better. And then in March, I flew out here. And we were on my partner's birthday. We were walking around the mall as our first date, and we tried to go in a GameStop because Animal Crossing was getting released. And so I was like, I need to buy a Switch and buy Animal Crossing so I can play. And we tried to go to the GameStop that was in the mall, and we literally walked through the doors and they were like, sorry guys, like we're being told like we have to shut down because of COVID. Like apparently like there's a lockdown happening, and so like the whole mall, every store in the mall is like closing down. And it was crazy. And then we walked to another GameStop, and they were only letting in like 4 people at a time. And we had to stand in a line outside the door, like 6 feet apart. I think this was even before the mask mandate. We weren't wearing masks. This is like so weird to talk about. But we went to this GameStop and we were outside, and we went home, and like I remember my partner's stepdad like telling us like that he heard that he was gonna have to be like working from home now and stuff. It was crazy. It was fucking crazy. Let me read chat. I was sitting in an Olive Garden for my birthday, like, oh shit, life isn't gonna be the same. And before that I was sick, and it was like the flu, but it wasn't the flu, and I had it for a week and I couldn't go to school. That's crazy. Sorry if you can hear my like mouth noises. Like I said, I just smoked. I want to be high for this because I feel like I'm really like more relaxed, obviously, but like I feel like I'm also just more myself when I smoke. So I like to smoke before streaming. I was working at a chocolatier, essential worker selling chocolate. That's crazy. Yeah, I didn't have a job yet, but my partner Faye, they were working at Dunkin' Donuts, and they were an essential worker. I don't even think they got any time off. I think maybe like a week. But pretty soon after that, the mask mandate hit, and then I got a job at a Dollar Tree, another town over. And before the interview, we had to go to this like little store in town and buy those like fabric masks. Faye actually still has their fabric mask that we bought that day. I have some pictures of me from back then. I looked so different back then. I was still she, her. I was going by a different name. Not my dead name, But I, from like the age of like 12, went by a different name. I don't remember how old I was. I was like maybe 13, 14, I don't know, somewhere around there. You know, trauma. All those years are just 1 year to me. I was talking about growing up a Jehovah's Witness. See, this is also like, this is kind of the negative to me smoking before this, is like my ADHD takes over and I just like subject hop. But so I moved here 2020, and part of the reason I didn't go back was because COVID hit, and I was like, I feel irresponsible flying in a plane right now. Like, you know, because you can have and be asymptomatic. So I was like, I don't want to have it and then like fly on a plane, and like planes are just recycled air. Like there's no fresh air that comes into a plane because, you know, you're up in the air, so there is no like fresh air. So it's just like recycled air. I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's just like filtered air. So, and like I said, it was before the mask mandate. So I was like, I didn't know that I could wear a mask and be safer, but at the same time, that's also still not safe. So yeah, that was part of the reason I didn't go back. And so in 2020, I left the cult of Jehovah's Witnesses officially. I, through several periods of my life, had moved out of my parents' house, and had a little bit more freedom when it comes to like attending meetings. But I still always had to pretend like I was interested in being a witness. So it wasn't until 2020, and even then, still a little bit while I was here, I was pretending to be into it. Just if my mom would ask if I had gone to meetings and stuff, I would be honest and I would like say no, but like I would say that like I was like looking into Kingdom Halls around and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe I'll tell you a little bit about Jehovah's Witnesses. If you don't know anything about them, they are a Christian denomination. They call themselves the Truth, which is a huge cult red flag. But literally within the organization, they call it the Truth. And it's so weird thinking about like the fact that I grew up in a cult. Like I've stated before that like I have problems with like disassociation and stuff. So a lot of my life feels like a story that somebody told me. So when I like sit down and like go to talk about these things to people who don't already know, it feels so like, whoa, like that happened. Anyway, so Jehovah's Witnesses, they believe that God's name is Jehovah, that the devil's name is Satan, Jehovah's son is Jesus. However, he was not born in December. So they don't celebrate Christmas. They don't celebrate any holidays or birthdays. The only thing that they're allowed to celebrate is like marriage anniversaries. So sorry, I'm processing so much information. And they don't believe that there's a hell. They believe that when you die, you are just dead. You don't have a soul. You are your soul. Like your soul is your body, basically. Sorry if you heard that gulp. Like I said, this mic is good. And they don't believe in divorce unless one of you, I mean, you can get divorced, but then you're not allowed to remarry in the Kingdom Hall unless one of you cheated. Infidelity is like the only like pass to remarry in a Kingdom Hall, which is what they call their church buildings. They call them Kingdom Halls, and it's not church. We go to meetings. And They have a governing body, which is like essentially like I guess they're like Pope and like Vatican and stuff. They have like everyone there, and like there are several men. It's all men who are part of the governing body, and they are elders who work their way up. Um, and okay, yes, you BRB. You have a good BRB. And they so the governing body lives, I guess, I don't know, I didn't pay attention during like most of the like technicalities and stuff because like I don't care, but they have for the United States, they have their like headquarters in Bethel, New York. I think they moved it a little bit before I left, but it's in New York somewhere still. And Bethel is it's like a giant, it's where they do the like the printing of all the materials, and it's where the governing body lives. And then also you can apply to go to Bethel, but you have to be like baptized and like a full-time publisher to go to Bethel. So when you go to Bethel, it's 24/7 witness everything. So like you wake up in the morning and you all go down to the kitchen and you eat breakfast together, and there's like a morning prayer, and I think there's a morning song, and then while they eat breakfast there's like basically like a sermon happening, and then people work there, so like you can help like produce the movies and like the TV shows that they make. I say TV shows, but the little short shows that they make, or you can like that's where they record their dramas. If you've ever been to a convention on Sundays, they have like dramas during the day, and it's the audio is recorded in the United States at Bethel, and the governing body has been nearly almost exactly the same my entire life. Once someone dies, they like anoint a new member. Oh, speaking of anoint, so they believe that if you are part of 144,000 people that are, when they die, gonna go to heaven to help Jesus in the Battle of Armageddon, because they believe that God, that Satan came down from heaven and is now in control of the world, and one day Jesus is going to come down and there is going to be the Battle of Armageddon. And so you can be, if you're anointed, then you're part of the 144,000 that is part of the like anointed that are going to be like part of the army. Sorry, to be part of the army to like come help Jesus destroy Satan. And they believe that at Armageddon you'll like have a chance that like God will be there, and so you'll have a chance to like redeem yourself to God and be like, I'm sorry for everything that I did in my life, blah 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 blah, I vow to devote my life to you. And then if you don't, then you'll be put in what they call Hades, which is just the ground. That means God's gonna kill you if you don't submit to him. And that over the course of 1,000 years, all the witnesses that still remain are going to help like perfect the earth. So they're gonna clean it up, and over the course of 1,000 years, everyone who has ever died is gonna be resurrected, and or I guess over the course of forever, I don't know, but everyone who's ever died is going to be resurrected and put before God, and if they submit, then they'll be allowed to live forever. So they believe that there will be paradise restored on earth, and you will live forever. You'll be immortal. And oh yeah, they believe in Adam and Eve. and that Satan was a serpent that talked to Eve. They believe in, like, it's really heavily just basically Christian rewritten. Um, it's it's really similar, because they believe in like Christ and everything. Um, but I forgot to promo on Facebook. Let me do that real quick. Hold on. Family could join, but I don't have any witness family on my Facebook, so it's fine. I feel like I also maybe should have put in the title that I'm talking about this, but I don't know how to. I'm on a Mac. I don't know how to change the title of the stream while I'm streaming. I don't even remember how I got to that screen in the first place. I don't know. Oh, here. There we go. Growing up in a cult. I should put here. EP1. Okay. So yeah. I will talk about some of my experiences growing up as Jehovah's Witness. So as you may know, if you've ever gotten a knock on your door at an ungodly hour in the morning, it is most likely a witness. And they start with, "Hi, good morning, how are you? We're one of Jehovah's Witnesses, blah 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 blah. We're here to talk to you about whatever." So we're taught to profile the yard before we go in. So like they say, like, "Oh, well, if you see like beaten up cars and like the lawn's not taken care of, and maybe there's like cigarette butts are on the ground, you could like give them one about how like paradise on earth is going to be restored." And then like if you see that they have like kids toys in the yard, or like you notice like a car seat in the car, then like you could give them one about like who will this world turn my kids into, something like that, some fear-mongering bullshit. And I have had a few experiences with like people who are unhappy with the fact that we are there. The worst one was probably when I lived in California, and it was so like basically when you go out in service, you have to have a partner to go with you. You're not supposed to go up to the door alone. There will be like older witnesses who will do it, or like elders, but they're not supposed to. And so one time me and my cousin were partnered up, and we went to this door, and it was a guy. I think he was already in his like standing in his driveway, and my cousin walked up and they introduced themselves, and announced that we were one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And the guy, like, I don't even remember how it started, but he was basically like, I don't want anything to do with that cult, blah 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 blah, blah. Like get off my property. Get off my property. And so we were like, okay, sorry to bother you. And we went to leave, and he got so fucking mad, and he like ran up, and he got in my cousin's face, like close enough to like spit on them, and he was just like yelling at them. I don't even remember what he said. I probably checked out. I probably just like disappeared for a second up here. But like he was just like in their face, like screaming at them and saying he was gonna call the cops if they didn't get off his property and blah 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 blah. And they just said, you know, I'm sorry you feel that way. Have a good day. And we turned around and we walked away. And that was horrific. I remember being like really scared that he was gonna like hit them or something. Or like that he had a gun. But like we lived in California, so like he wouldn't have had a gun. But, you know, that was my anxiety being like, ah! Which like rightfully so. He was like an old man. He had like military signs in his front yard. I wonder what his beef was. Like, I wonder if he grew up a witness, or if he like lost family to being a witness or something. Because like I feel like that's not a normal reaction, right? Like he was so fucking mad. So that was one experience. I don't really remember the other ones. I know there have been, but like I don't know. And like a few times, like my mom had this woman that she was studying with that had kids, and eventually she just like started ghosting us, and then she moved out of where she was and didn't tell us where she was moving to. So like one time we literally just showed up like at her house and like knocked on our door, and she didn't answer, and like her car wasn't there. And my mom was like, I kind of looked inside and like there's not really anything in there. And I was like, oh, okay. And she was like, so I guess I don't have a study anymore. I was like, yikes. So like cases like that, I wonder like what happened. Like did a family member be like, whoa, you should not do that? Or like did they realize, did they like figure out something? Sorry, I keep yawning. I'm like sleepy. It's towards the end of the day. It's almost 5. Which I'm gonna go a little bit past 5 tonight because I started a little bit after 4. And I want to get a whole hour in. So I have to charge my laptop. It's gonna die. So if you follow me on Twitter, my @ there is the same as it is here. I will be tweeting about podcast episodes, and specifically tweeting polls about asking like what what kind of podcast you want to see next week, because like I have a lot of ideas, so it's just really about like figuring out what people want to see first and stuff. So yeah. But I could talk a little bit more about Jehovah's Witnesses, because that's what this episode is about. So they have meetings, I think twice a week still. When I was going, it was twice a week, so I think it's still twice a week. And usually it's on like a Sunday, Saturday or Sunday, and then a weekday, usually like a midweekday. And they usually start out with like prayers, and then there's a song, and then the Sunday meetings they'll have like the Watchtower reading, but first there will be a talk from the elders, or a visiting elder. Sorry, I plugged my computer in, and it's losing frames so bad now. Hold on, let me quit stuff. I literally only have Chrome open, although Chrome takes a lot of fucking shit. So yeah, I closed Chrome and I immediately stopped lagging. And okay, I haven't dropped any frames. That's good. Okay, so anyway, The Sunday meetings, so it's usually an elder either from your congregation or from another congregation in the district. And then there's circuit overseers. I was talking. Sorry, I was talking about the anointed. So if you feel like you're one of the anointed, then you partake on the memorial, which is how they celebrate Jesus, but it's around Easter. They do the memorial of his death. So like it's not a set time. Usually, you just show up around sundown when it's like starts to turn like dusk. You just show up at the Kingdom Hall, and they have the whole thing. So like it'll be like the prayer, the song, and then there will be a talk, and then they'll talk about they'll read the scriptures about Jesus' death and like the Last Supper and everything, and then they pass the plate of instead of crackers, it's unleavened bread. They pass that, and you grab the plate and you pass it to the person next to you, and it goes down the line. And if you're in a middle row, it just keeps going. If you're on an end aisle, the person at the very end just hands it back, and you give it back. And then they do the same with the wine. But if you feel like you're one of the anointed, then you partake of the wine and the bread. And I knew someone who partook, and it was someone who had basically confessed to killing people when in the mob. And I was like, you really think that God chose you to go to heaven? But okay. And so like I guess you had to like report if you partook, and then at the end of the year they say how many people partook that year. I know for a fact they always say like less, because like by now, like witnesses were founded in 1914. By now 144,000 people had to have partook. Like at points there's been like millions of witnesses, right? It's like one of the biggest, most successful cults outside of like I guess Mormonism and like Catholicism. But like if you're gonna like kind of water down the word cult like that much, I guess any religion is technically a cult, but like specifically like I think the Jehovah's Witnesses are like the biggest, most successful like literal cult, because everybody just like assumes they're like a Christian denomination like Mormon or something. Which are Mormons even Christian? Because I know that they have the Book of Mormon. I don't know what it's about. Never read it. Never will, because I don't care about religion. Not even really in the like I'm curious about religions I'm not part of. I care a little bit. Like it is like if someone were to like explain it to me, I would listen, and like I would care. But just like on doing my own research, like I don't care that much. So yeah. They keep saying like every year like, oh, we're getting like close to the 144,000, or like they say something else to dangle you along. Like it's always something. I remember like when I was like I don't know, like 10, 11, I remember them saying like we're getting close. Like they believe that like somebody's gonna say like like the president's gonna say like we now have like peace and security. They think that the phrase peace and security is like a big like a go button. Basically they think that them saying that phrase is like the start of Armageddon. And I'm pretty sure Obama like basically said it a few times, and my dad was like, see he's getting close to saying it, like the end is so close, and that's like a thing with the witnesses. And like my dad's dad, he got in trouble because he literally had like a book of like predictions, like trying to like predict when the end was gonna come. Like what the fuck? You're really that into it? Which like by the way, you're not supposed to do that, because if you start to like look into it, you're gonna start to like realize that like there's some bullshit here, which is like another red flag about cults. It's like you're not even allowed to like look up stuff about Jehovah's Witnesses. The only thing you're allowed to read about Jehovah's Witnesses is stuff published by Jehovah's Witnesses, because there are people who are apostates who spread lies about the witnesses, And if you stumble upon an apostate's like blog or whatever, then you could possibly be swayed by the lies that the apostate takes, because then you're letting your heart open to Satan, and then Satan can get to you. So you don't want Satan to get to you, so you don't read anything about witnesses, you don't watch anything about witnesses, you don't listen to anything about witnesses if it is not published by witnesses. Like, I wonder why they don't want us to look into our religion. Why don't they want us to see what good things people have to say about us? Because we're kind people, we're nice people, right? Like, that's everything I've ever heard about anyone who interacts with a witness is like, oh, they're such nice people. It's literally like either like, oh, they're such nice people, or like, you, like, I hate those fuckers. Those are like literally like the two, or they don't know anything about them. That's like it. And sorry, I sleepy. When when I would go to conventions as a kid, less so like the older I got, but I remember when I was a kid, it was a big thing that like apostates would like stand outside of like the convention doors holding up signs saying like the witnesses are a cult, they're lying to you and stuff like that. You're not even like allowed to look at them. Definitely not allowed to talk to them. If you're caught talking to them, you can get like disfellowship. Like, it's that bad. So you're literally not even like allowed to look at them. You can't read their signs, like nothing. And I remember being a kid, like not a kid, but like a teenager, like probably like 15, 16 maybe, sitting in my room and like looking up like I grew up a witness and I got out videos, you know, and like just being like, that's gonna be me, like I'm gonna get out, like that's gonna be me one day, like I'm gonna get out of this. And you know, after I moved here, I was here for a couple months, and they had a discussion with me like, you know, I really can't handle your parents not knowing that we're together, you know. I can't handle you lying about what we are. And I was like, yeah, you know, you're right. Like, I have to. Like, I have to come out. Which, like, I had to anyway, because, like, I couldn't keep keeping it in. You know, like, there's like, parts of, like, recovery and letting go of trauma and stuff. And, like, part of that is, like, I'm, like, slouching so bad. Part of that is, like, you know, letting yourself be who you are unapologetically and without worrying about other people. And so I came out, and my grandma took it perfectly fine, which I knew she would. She was the first person I came out to. I knew she would take it fine because I knew her. And she just was like, I love you and I support you no matter what. And I was like, yeah, period. Go off, grandma. And then I sent a lengthy text message to my mother. I did not send it to my dad. I sent it to my mom. And I asked her to sit on it for a while. You know, I asked her not to reply immediately. I asked her to think about things. And she did. I didn't hear from her for a while. And then about a week after I came out, maybe a couple days, like I don't remember, it was pretty soon after I came out, my dad's dad texted me and said, I need you to send me back your phone or pay it off because I will no longer be paying for your phone bill. You know why? And I replied, actually, I don't know why. And he never said anything. So, I tried talking to my mom for a little bit after, and eventually it kind of came to a head when I was like, you know, I need you to respect these basic things. Like, one of them is not preaching to me. You know, I don't want, you can talk to me about your life in, you know, as a witness. You can tell me, you know, maybe things that you heard at the meeting that you liked. Like, I'm not opposed to hearing about it because it's something that's important to you. But, you know, this almost killed me. And, she couldn't do it. she said she wasn't going to stop trying to save my life. And so I told her then we have nothing to talk about. And I blocked her. And I didn't talk to them for 2 years until like a week before I gave birth. I my dad's health is pretty bad, and so I kind of felt guilty because, you know, it's a complicated relationship because my parents, they were not perfect, and they are the reason I have a lot of the issues I have. Both of them, neither of them were perfect. Both of them contributed to things in different ways. However, they love me. Like, they love me a lot. And my grandma said that they feel differently than they did. And so I was like, okay, let's see. And basically they said, well, my dad said, my mom never says, but my dad said that our lives are different, and that just like I don't support their lifestyle, they don't support mine. And, you know, but they support me and they love me. And I was like, you know, okay. And now I just keep them at arm's length, but they know about their grandson. They see pictures of him. So, like, you know, I guess I felt bad because I'm an only child. And so I was like, this is literally their only grandchild until we maybe have another one. But that's like years away. So I just don't make an effort to speak to them. My dad will text me a lot and try to talk to me. And I usually just leave it in my inbox for a while. And I know that I am kind of like fortunate enough for being an ex-witness and who has witness parents still, because my parents are pretty good about it. Like, they don't use my preferred name, they don't use my pronouns, they don't use phase pronouns, but like they want to see pictures of us all together. And, you know, my dad thanked me for sending pictures of all of us together. That was a real, like, that was an emotional moment for me, because I was like, well, fuck. So, like, I think I have to, you know, I think I need to have a conversation with them. Like, you know, you're right. Our lifestyles are very different, which is why, you know, I only contact you to send you pictures of him. I only talk to you about him. A little bit recently, I talked to my mom about some of the stuff that I'm going through, and I don't know. I expected her to be supportive, which she was in her own way. She said she was going to pray for me, which, you know, like, I always appreciate when people say that, because I may not believe in God, but also, like, I don't know, you know? So, like, if there's something out there that does listen to prayers, whether it be, like, karma or the universe or whatever, if there's something or someone that's listening and someone cares enough about me that they want to include me in that, I feel like that is an act of, like, genuine affection, you know? So I view that as something very positive and special, you know? So if someone says, like, you know, do you mind if I pray for you? I'm always like, no, like, go ahead, like, I appreciate it. Because, you know, I grew up, I guess that's because I grew up a witness. Like, I grew up, you know, knowing that prayer was supposed to be very personal, and you know, they believe that you're supposed to, like, pour your heart out to Jehovah and, like, tell him everything, because, like, he sees it all anyway, and he sees what's in your heart. So if you just, like, talk to him about these things, like, he can make it better, and he can make you feel better. And, you know, it never worked for me. I stopped believing at a very young age. I was like, I don't know, like 5 or 6, and this neighbor kid, he was sitting on a rock in my front yard, and I think I was trying to preach to him, and he said, don't you get it? Jesus left us. He's not coming back. And I was like, oh, okay. And that was literally it. Like, that is, when I think about when I stopped believing in God, like that is the moment. Because like I was never interested, you know, like in the meetings I was always like wondering, like I think that's also like the fact that I have ADHD and that it was undiagnosed for so long, but like I was never into it, like in the meetings, you know. I didn't listen, I didn't really pay attention, I didn't study before meetings. But then there was a few times that I was like, you know what, I'm gonna straighten out my act, I'm gonna be a witness, I'm gonna blah 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 blah. And like I would fizzle out so fast because I didn't believe in it. It just wasn't for me, you know. There was a part of me always that was like, this isn't real, this doesn't feel good. And yeah, so it is what it is, you know. But I think that I don't know, maybe I am just like at a better point in my recovery, because you know it's been 4 years, to where like I see a lot of positives in the way I was raised, and maybe it's because my parents were more lenient witnesses than other parents. Because like, you know, my childhood best friend, his parents were strict as fuck. They were like to the letter witnesses basically. So he was more he also was more driven at times than me, like he wanted it more. I don't know if it's because, you know, he really believed or whatever, but like um his parents were really strict, but mine were pretty lenient. Like we watched superhero movies. When I was a kid, we used to watch Harry Potter up till like the one that where it gets like really like dark, where like I guess like after Voldemort comes back, because he comes back in the first one, but like I mean like when he really comes back after Cedric dies, that one, which I don't watch it anymore. I used to be a really big fan. I don't watch it anymore. I don't care anymore. But I think that one was the one we stopped watching because it was too like dark. But my dad also watched rated R movies. Well, my dad was disfellowshipped like multiple times in my life. For a big chunk of the first part of my life, he was disfellowshipped. I think it was like 10 years he was disfellowshipped. I don't know. I was like older once he got reinstated. And then he got disfellowshipped a little bit later. And I think pretty recently got reinstated. But I don't know. It's also so weird because like my dad is so smart, and he like sees through so much bullshit. Like he knew I was gay most of my life. Like he picks up on clues and stuff. He's not a dumb person. So like it's like, you know, it really I guess goes to show the manipulation of cults, because like even though he is so smart and he sees through bullshit, he also like doesn't see through that bullshit, or like he doesn't want to, maybe. Like maybe he's just like so far in his life at this point that if he stopped believing, he wouldn't have anything to hold on to. And I feel like it might be the same way for my mom, because she lost her mom when she was in her early 20s, and her mom were best friends. So like she needs to believe in the resurrection so bad. I remember her telling me like so much, like I miss my mom. Some mornings I wake up and she'd be like crying, and you know, I'd ask her what was wrong, and she told me she had a dream about her mom. So like I know that like the resurrection is like a huge thing for her, which is like that's a huge manipulation tactic to like pull on your heartstrings and be like, well, you want to see the people that you love again, right? You want to see the person that you lost tragically again, right? And then to just dangle that in your face, and like it's just so disgusting to me, because you know it's all just about preying on people who are weak or people who need something so desperately. And you know, it's great to have something to believe in, but I think that it definitely becomes toxic when it's your whole life and when you're pushing it on other people because you want them to believe in what you believe in. I think that that's when it becomes a little bit of an issue, especially for witnesses, because you know, as a witness, you're not allowed to have any friends that aren't witnesses. I mean, like you can, but like it's kind of like really frowned upon. You're not supposed to. And because like, you know, bad influences and such, like, oh, my friends are having fun and living their life and I can't do any of it, like that sucks. And that's usually, you know, how they get you. So it's definitely crazy to look back on. and like knowing what I know now, and like I said, you know, I was young watching those like I Escaped Jehovah's Witnesses videos and stuff, and I was just like, that's gonna be me one day. Like I was determined. And so like when I got here and I was like, I'm out, like that the day I was supposed to fly home, I decided to stay because I physically could not force myself to go back. I also, because I was going to be stuck in lockdown, and like my dad, I can't really speak to how he is now because it's, you know, been 4 years since I've been around him, but you know, he wasn't good when I left, and so I was like, I can't be stuck with him during lockdown, you know. So I had to get out for a lot of reasons. And you know, getting out, I learned, because I had kind of known since I was a teenager that I was non-binary, but once I left, I was able to allow myself the space to figure out what that really meant for me. And you know, that's when I changed my pronouns and I changed my name. I changed my name first. I changed my name to Chandler first because I was like, whoa, isn't it cool that like a girl is named Chandler? And so I changed my name to Chandler, and then a bit after that I changed my pronouns. And I remember I was telling my friend Toby, I love Toby, shout out Toby, I was telling him that I was changing my pronouns, and he was like, oh, I've been calling you they since you changed your name. I was like, god damn, you got me. Caught. You know? Caught. But yeah, so there's a lot of things that like I'm unpacking in therapy and like looking back on, and I haven't, like, I've brought up a little bit being raised a witness, but like there's a lot of shit that like I struggle with because I was raised a witness, and stuff that, like, you know, being 4 years out, I'm still so fresh in like my actual therapeutic recovery. Like I've done a lot of like recovery by myself, but I just found like a therapist that like is actually like diving into shit with me, and it's been nice. It's been really nice. I remember I had a therapist once, and I, you know, was still in the introduction and everything, and I was like, oh yeah, I was raised in a cult. And she was like, really, what are they called? And I said, Jehovah's Witnesses. And she immediately was like, oh, well, I have some clients that are witnesses and they're really nice, so. And I was like, that's how they fucking get you. It's like, you know, when someone comes over and says, oh, your dad's the best, and your dad's like the shittiest person ever. Like I had someone one time tell me that I was lucky that my dad was who he is, and this was like maybe at the worst time period of his life, and I was just like, yeah, okay, buddy. It's just like so accidentally invalidating, you know, because like people like that, manipulators, they are different people around people who they need to be perceived well by. So that is very heavily like witnesses. Whether or not they realize it, they are manipulating people, just by like sugarcoating the religion, and then, you know, not really fully explaining things in studies because they don't want to persuade you one way or the other and stuff like that. But yeah, I think I am going to wrap it up. I know I'm a little bit short of an hour. I think I'm like 40 minutes, but I think that is a good maybe time for the first episode. And then next week I will be back with another episode, 4 again. Hopefully I do start at actually 4 next time. But thank you everybody for joining, and thank you for watching, and I will catch you next week. Follow me on Twitter if you want to vote on the poll for next week's episode.